Hi, I'm Peter Capaldi. I play the Doctor, and you're watching EMS Productions.
Hello everybody, welcome along to today's video where I'm here today to review what in my opinion was the absolutely phenomenal Extremis. So yes, let's get straight into this week's episode of Doctor Who Extremis, written by Steven Moffat. Certainly it's turned out to be quite a divisive episode, I think it's fair to say. But personally, I hugely enjoyed it. There is no denying that this episode was very, very, very Steven Moffat. Everything about it was just all the sort of tropes and things he's used in the past all brought together into one episode. But personally, I've always enjoyed his type of storytelling and his era in general, so clearly a lot of it, this episode would have been down to if you like the Moffat era overall or if you don't. And basically that will define whether you like this episode or not, but for me, I really enjoy it. Well, where do we begin with this episode, really? I mean, there were the two main sort of different plot strands through the episode. There was the whole stuff which turns out to be the simulation, and there's the stuff with the Doctor and Missy in the flashback sequence. Two different stories that sort of are brought together at the end, obviously with it being linked up with Missy and Missy potentially getting involved further in the series or within this three-part story. It seems she might get a little bit more involved. But it was nice to neatly link those two sort of strands together to bring Missy back into the show, for the Doctor to kill her but not kill her, and some absolutely fantastic scenes, those ones between the Doctor and Missy, and some of the stuff sort of Missy showing she really is the Doctor's friend and that kind of fear and sadness. It really was almost very stereotypically the Master, because that's what the Master's always been like, just kind of not something we've always seen. It felt like a more very sort of Roger Delgado type of performance, that deep down they really are sort of friends rather than enemies, and how much they sort of care about each other. Obviously the Doctor would never actually kill Missy because he couldn't bring himself to do that, so there was some brilliant scenes and brilliant dialogue between the two of them throughout that sort of flashback sequence that we saw. It was wonderful to see Michelle Gomez back as Missy because she is just such a brilliant character. I mean, initially, certainly in the Series 8 finale, I wasn't quite so won over by her, but certainly when her appearance in Series 9 and her performance in Extremis just have won me over completely. I absolutely love her as a character, and as this incarnation of the Master, it just seems to fit perfectly. Some of the sort of comedic lines she has are absolutely brilliant. The one where she's lying on the floor, seemingly dead, and sort of telling the soldiers to have a bit of respect. It was just sort of perfect comic timing with it. And although she is completely mad and crazy as a character, she still sort of is really entertaining to watch, and still has underneath sort of a much more serious sort of side to her and performance being played within her, as we saw with some of those scenes with her and the Doctor where she really is fearing for her life. And of course that whole flashback sequence did confirm what we basically already knew, that Missy was in the vault. Obviously that's what I said in my preview video. There were lots of comments about, could it be John Sim, could it be the First Doctor, could it be Susan, could it be who knows what else, the blooming Vale Yard, anybody like that. But it was Missy, the most obvious choice. It was true. But I think it's clearly more about the reason she's in there. She's been put in there sort of because she was meant to be killed, so she's on a protection sort of in that vault as far as we can tell so far. But clearly she's maybe going to get released in sort of episode 8 possibly, at the end of this three-part story, to maybe help out the Doctor in coming to this resolution. It's hard to say for sure. I have seen some people say that they think that Missy isn't actually in the vault, that maybe she was in the vault but then John Sim's going to walk out of the vault or something like that. Personally, I don't buy it. I don't think Steven Moffat is trying to mix us up there. He said categorically, I know Steven Moffat lies, blah, 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 but he has categorically stated that Missy is in the vault. So I am willing to believe him on this thing, and I do think it will be Missy purely who is in the vault. And we're now coming on to the other plot line, the more sort of dominant plot line of the story, which is this whole stuff about the Pope, this mysterious book called the Veritas, all the stuff in the Vatican, everything like that. It was all the main plot of the story. Obviously, the big reveal at the end that it wasn't all quite as it seems was certainly quite something, but it was a very... I know there's been a lot of debate about it, but personally I thought it was a really good idea. And something I haven't really seen before, certainly in Doctor Who, that the alien race would have the power to create a complete simulation of Earth and everything in it, to be able to plan out exactly what would happen in an invasion and see sort of everything in action and knowing what they need to do. It's such a clever idea that they do that, and then obviously as we sort of gradually have the main characters working out that they are in a simulation through it, and the whole stuff with the Veritas and that revealing that they're not in the real world and therefore everybody commits suicide because of it, it's quite a kind of dark concept, really, that if you realise that this isn't the real world, it's not real life, that then you're going to go and kill yourselves. But it was handled very well, I thought, by Steven Moffat. He really sort of didn't talk it up too, made it clear it was a thing, but didn't kind of talk it up too much or be a bit too heavy-handed with the whole suicide topic there. But certainly it was a clever concept and an idea in the lead up to the reveal with this book, The Veritas, that sort of you read it and then you die. It was quite a good idea to start off with. And obviously then the Doctor has to try and read it, which was a little bit more complicated than usual given his situation with his eyesight. But it was some brilliant scenes in that sort of library. I think it was underneath the Vatican, as far as I remember. In the library when the Doctor's sort of half got his sight back and trying to escape all the monks and everything. It was such brilliantly shot and directed to kind of represent. Really gave good POV shots of his sort of eyesight and how he'd be actually seeing stuff. I thought it was a really great portrayal of sort of what it was like for him as he's struggling to see, not being able to see properly, trying to escape all his monks and everything. I thought it was really brilliantly shot, and again it was a fantastic performance from Peter Capaldi, pulling off the complete sort of being blind and everything. I mean, he didn't maybe play a massive role through a lot of the episode in this. A lot of it was actually put on Nardole in this episode quite a bit more, simply because obviously the Doctor couldn't see, so Nardole was kind of helping him out with all the visual side of things, which gave a few good little jokes throughout the episode, with Nardole kind of having to subtly try and point out exactly what was going on, which was just quite funny and entertaining. But then midway through the episode, he almost became the Doctor and took control when leading Bill off and everything. Some absolutely brilliant scenes between Nardole and Bill when Nardole gives his little sort of speech about how he's in charge and everything. And then just, yeah, some of the dialogue, I just thought that it was definitely Matt Lucas's best performance as Nardole in the series so far. Showing that although he does do a few comedy lines, again, showing that he can do the proper serious stuff and the serious lines, and he isn't just there as a comedy character. He really has developed well from what we saw in the Husbands of River Song. And is now putting in some great sort of serious performances. In terms of Bill, she was probably a little bit less important in this episode. Obviously there was the scene that didn't quite go so well for her with the date at the start of the episode. But past that, she wasn't really anything more than your sort of generic, just asking questions person through the episode, then wandering around with Nardole and then disappearing. She didn't really do too much to add to the plot, but that happens some episodes. Clearly this part of the series feels a lot more focused on the Doctor rather than on the companion, whereas the first 3 or 4 episodes were very much all about Bill. It now seems this next little segment is a lot more about the Doctor, and obviously his struggles with his blindness, but a lot more just focused on him rather than on Bill, which is something I like to see it sort of flowing through the series as we get more focus on one character than the other. And I think obviously the Doctor is the main character of the show, so I think it is right that he should get a bit more focus, as he certainly seems to be at the moment. Certainly it did feel that this episode kind of gave me slightly Heaven Sent sort of vibes to it, with the whole sort of building up to a big reveal that we'll find out that everything's not quite as it seems. Obviously in Heaven Sent situation it was that there was going to be a complete reset and it's going to loop around, whereas here that nothing is real, it's all a simulation. It did just give me building up to the reveal, the shock reveal that this is actually what's happening. Just had a little bit of a feel of a Heaven Sent, which from my side of things is absolutely brilliant because I love Heaven Sent, as I'm sure most of you who watch my videos know by now. But it did. I got that little sort of feeling of that from this episode, building up to that sort of really well sort of clever reveal at the end. Really well done, even with the odd dodgy line. Some of the stuff about the video games and Super Mario and stuff is maybe a little bit iffy, but certainly the nice little comparison to it's like a VR without the headset was, I thought, quite a good sort of visual way of looking at it, to kind of just portray that you're in the simulation, we're all part of the simulation. This whole world is fake, was just a really clever idea. I know it's something that's been used in TV and film before, but it was, yeah, I've already said it before, but it just feels like a good idea. And then of course we had the Doctor at the end facing off with the monk as he sort of saves the day in a slight kind of way, but not really, because obviously the world's not real, so it doesn't really do too much. But it was a clever idea to be able to email over a copy of everything that he's seen through to his real self. Obviously, so I've seen some people saying they don't quite understand how, if it's not real, he'd be able to send the email. But I feel like sonic sunglasses, Time Lord technology, all that kind of thing, I'm fairly sure that would be possible. It's not really a plot hole, but I have seen some people commenting on it being an issue, but I don't really think it is. But it was just clever. It was sort of something I didn't notice when I watched it the first time, was that when the Doctor puts the sunglasses on just before the opening titles and it says recording like Extremis or something, it just didn't click in that first viewing that was the start of a fake recording of a simulation, all this kind of thing. It was then obviously watching it back when you see the recording start and end, it's just a brilliant kind of way of actually, when you same thing you had with Heaven Sent, when you actually rewatch it again and watch back, you look and see all the little clues dotted around throughout the episode, just sort of realise the reveal. But at the time, you don't really kind of take it in. And I think it sort of adds a bit more value to a rewatch of an episode like this when you've got to try and spot throughout the episode to sort of see what's going on in reality. But certainly this episode has set us up for a rather interesting and I think exciting next couple of episodes. It obviously ends with that brilliant sort of panning away shot or sort of zooming out shot of the Doctor stood in front of the vault, stuck there blind with an impending alien invasion. Even though he's been able to watch about them, there's still not a lot he can do because he's completely blind and he's kind of stuck there. It's sort of a brilliant way to set up the next couple of episodes, the rest of this story, because of course it is a three-parter with the monk. So we're going to, I think essentially next week will be kind of initiating the build up to the invasion, and then I think the full-on invasion will probably take place right at the end of the episode before the cliffhanger, which will be the whole Earth is being invaded. And then the episode 8 will obviously resolve it somehow, probably involving the Doctor and regeneration energy, as we've seen from the trailer, so that'll be something to watch for. But no, overall this episode I thought was probably my favourite one of the series so far. I think my favourite episode since Heaven Sent. It was just a really clever episode from Steven Moffat. Personally, as I've said, I love Steven Moffat episodes, so that really was always likely to appeal to me. Giving it some Heaven Sent vibes helps as well, with the way it's revealed, the sort of cleverness behind the plot. It was different to what we've had in previous episodes this series, where everything has been a bit more simple and straightforward so far, but I personally enjoy the more sort of clever, complicated kind of episodes that we often get from Steven Moffat. So I was really pleased, and definitely for me this is the best episode so far. But there we go guys, that's it from this video. Certainly I'm really excited for the next couple of episodes to come in the next couple of weeks. In terms of videos for this week, I'll be getting out the episode of music for tomorrow, and then a preview at the end of the week for the Pyramid at the End of the World as well. Do let me know in the comments below what you think about this episode. Do you like it as much as me, or are you one of those people who doesn't like it? And that's just about it. Remember to like the video, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.